Welcome, dear audience, to our first webinar of COVERSATILE, a European project tackling the pandemic situation. And nowadays, what we see is that the pandemic, of course, is coming back again with a high number of infections. In some countries, we are talking already about overwhelming of the healthcare system. So that means our project is as important as it was when it started 1 year ago. And that's the reason why we want to present you today and in the coming weeks the results of the first year of the COVERSATILE project. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Christian Bölling. I'm the director of the EIT Manufacturing Innovation Hub Central in Germany. And we, as a partner in the project, are responsible for all topics of communication and dissemination. And I'm very happy that you all are here today to listen to that, what we have created during 2021. Today, first of all, we would like to introduce our project. For that purpose, I have our coordinator, Robert Lofasch, with us. And then we want to present you in the very first step how you get access to all these solutions we have developed via our digital technopole. And here Sebastian Piena from Glasgow will present our approach. We will close with a panel discussion where we already give some outlook on the coming weeks and what you can expect from our webinar series. As a message to you, you will find on the right-hand side of the Hopin platform a chat you can use. This chat is monitored by us. If you have any questions, any comment, any remark, so please simply write it into the chat or use instead the Q&A box where you can also address your questions to us. All of those questions are collected and will be dealt with during the panel discussion. Furthermore, you will also find a poll there, and in some of the parts of our today's webinar, we will ask you some questions, and of course we are welcome to answer them, to give us some feedback on our achieved results. So, what is COVERSATILE about, or how is it implemented in the ecosystem, European ecosystem? So, European Commission decided 2020 already during the first wave to launch a call to react on this coronavirus pandemic situation. And COVERSATILE is one of the 4 projects you see here, which were selected in the process to deal with the topic of repurposing of manufacturing for vital medical supplies and equipment. So together with Eureka, Reservist and Impure, we are working in that topic from different perspectives. And so this is the overall framework we are working in. And how does the COVERSATILE project itself look like? So it's a consortium of 21 partners. It's coordinated by Starkey. We will listen to Robert later on. We have a good distribution across Europe. You can see from all over Europe there are partners involved. And we have already started quite early. So the project duration is meant to be 24 months, but we in fact started already 4 months ago to get everything set up and in place to be as quick as possible to serve the European citizens with our project. So what exactly is for this kind, or within the topic of the project, we have prepared several topics, and we want to present that in the coming weeks to you. So we have set up a series of webinars starting today. And if you go to the next slide, we will see the webinar series coming up in the coming weeks. So November 18th, it's today, the introductory webinar. Then we have on the 25th of November, the coming week, the topic of resilient supply chains. December 2nd, the scaling up of production. And on December 9th, of another very important topic we have included in the project, the workforce ramp up. So this is our offer to you. Yeah, take the opportunity, join the forthcoming webinars and have a look on that, what we have developed so far. So the key topics to summarize before I get Robert on the stage. So what are we dealing with is, on the one hand, adapt manufacturing processes for upscaling of production, reconfigure and reevaluate industrial supply chains, I guess a topic which goes beyond COVERSATILE and the pandemic, and workforce ramp up. It doesn't help you if the machinery you have modified for a certain purpose cannot be used due to shortage of workers, for example. So that are the topics we are dealing with in COVERSATILE. And about more in detail, I would like to talk now to our coordinator, Robert Lovash from Starkey. So Robert, welcome you on board. So Robert is the Deputy Director at Starkey and Project Coordinator of COVERSATILE. He habilitated as Associate Professor and the founder of the Institute for Cyber Physical Systems at the John F. Newman Faculty of Informatics at the Oguda University. So you have experience in 20-year experience in research, development in a wide range of distributed parallel systems. And yeah, you have already acted quite a lot in European projects as well as participant as coordinator. So Robert, nice to have you here.
Good morning.
Good morning. So you have already heard, or I've already introduced the COVERSATILE project slightly, but of course I'm interested also to get now your view on the project and some first insights from a coordinator perspective. So during the first wave, the EC, the European Commission, decided to quickly mobilize those resources we are today using. My question to you, when came the idea for COVERSATILE, and when did you decide, okay, that's what we need to do to support Europe?
Thank you, Christiana, for the introduction. So for answering your question, let's go back in time, spring of last year, 2020. So at the time, we had a really extraordinary situation around the world. Everybody struggled with a shortage of masks, ventilators, disrupted supply chains, and also we were the witnesses of really chaotic situations. So in my opinion, the European Commission reacted very fast and opened a new call in May with an extremely tight deadline and with more than 100 million euro budget. So we had only 3 weeks to build the consortium and prepare the project proposal. A few core partners, including small and medium-sized enterprises, universities, research institutes, digital innovation hubs, and consulting company with common background and joint activities in various Horizon 2020 projects. So decided to come up with the project idea, COVERSATILE. Actually, it was leveraging on our solid expertise in manufacturing, simulations, IT, and a lot of other related topics. And more and more new consortium members have been invited to get really a complementary knowledge set necessary for fine-tuning and then implementing the project plan. As you mentioned, I used to coordinate other 2 European projects in Framework Program 7, and our research institute, Starkey from Hungary, coordinated altogether more than 15 European projects. And just to make the long story short, taking the leadership was a really straightforward and obvious decision from me, from us, to have the society, companies, healthcare sector, and their stakeholders in fighting with COVID-19.
Yeah, And the COVERSATILE project has defined some strategic objectives, and I guess they're quite important for the pandemic itself, but they also might go beyond the current pandemic. So what are these objectives, and then how can they help us in the future?
Yes, in the project we defined 4 strategic objectives, and the first one is targeting delivering a rapid response to the ongoing emergency situation in the reorientation and repurposing of production capacities. But taking it into future events, we also are targeting setting up an accessible and democratic so-called digital technopole for reorientation and repurposing of production capacities to meet the urgent needs of our society for vital medical supplies and equipment in the future as well. And as a third objective, in order to validate the proper operation of this digital technopole, we have 7 selected manufacturing settings to demonstrate a very challenging target to be flexible 14-hour industrial response capability at scale to ramp up production in response to sudden future spikes in demand of strategic projects like medical equipment or PPEs, respirators, and also for evacuation or release of production lines. And the last objective is to really ensure the sustainability of this digital technopole and the multiplication of the offered services to the European manufacturing industry, not only for the project period, but also beyond that.
Yeah, so that's a good summary of what we want to achieve. And of course, the question is, how do we achieve that? So COVERSATILE has a certain structure, which is, from our perspective, quite important to deliver those results. And so can you briefly elaborate it, and also elaborate on the question why we think that with this structure, we can our promise to the manufacturing industry, to the healthcare sector, and in the end, to the citizens?
Well, these are very, very complex questions, so that's why let me share 2 slides with you. On this slide, you can see the overall project concept, and it's outlined in this figure with 4 key lines of actions, like platform setup, technological aspect, operation, and regulatory views. Let's start with the bluish things in the middle, the technological part. And here, a group of core partners support and deploy the technologies and services needed for the repurposing of selected manufacturing settings, spanning several European countries, and also 5 vital medical supplies and equipment. As you can see in the left-hand side, reusable silicone mask, electrostatic disinfection, ramp-up production of ventilators, machine for FFP2 mass production, and also resilience automation for manufacturing. So concerning the targeted areas, you can see in the heart of the figure in the digital technopole box that we have different targeted areas like manufacturing simulation based on HPC, cloud, and GPU-accelerated computing facilities, in order to increase the flexibility and adaptation capacity of manufacturing settings that need this kind of repurpose their production lines. The second one is about supply network simulation and risk management to respond to disruption in supply chains. I will talk about this later in another slide. And the third one is about automation and system integration technologies to really ensure that the dependence of human workforce is absolutely minimal, and the setup and ramp-up time is reduced and recruited for our production lines, certification, calibration, and accreditation. So this is the third one. And the fourth one, what we have to also take into consideration is the certification, training, and also qualification of operators using state-of-the-art technologies, virtual reality, augmented reality, human-machine interface modeling, and also automated assessments to make really enable that the personnel, the recruitment production lines, provided with the right knowledge, so to operate with proper safety and quality standards and so on. And here you can see some regulatory aspects also on the screen. And here I have to touch the surface of this problem, since this aspect is about in this given industrial domain in which the COVERSATILE project is operating, as well as the extraordinary nature of this initiative. We need particular care and dedicated to regulatory issues, including product regulations, process validation and training, as well as ethics and data management. And the last two topics what I have to mention here is about concerning the operational aspect. And in this framework, we target the constant process of scrutinizing, communicating, assessing, and comparing the repurposed manufacturing settings with their business as usual situation and also with wider manufacturing industry. And this will assure the sustainability, replicability, and also scalability, and which are needed. And this is coordinated by EIT Manufacturing Central, and actually this event is part of these activities. Okay, and the platform, concerning platform setup, this is also very important. And the goal is here to supporting the manufacturing industry and also in all the other initiative parties, in particular small and medium-sized enterprises, also beyond the project and also beyond the manufacturing settings. And the key exploitable results will be delivered through this single entry point called digital technopole. So in one sentence, the digital technopole is a sort of meta platform that allows the European manufacturing industry to access the services developed inside the project and also by third parties. And this will be described later by Sebastian from Glasgow. Okay, so I think we can switch to the next slide, where I would like to describe the methodology what we follow in the project. And here we have really a radically different approach with respect to our regular European research and innovation projects, since it leverages on some key elements from the lean startup methodology. It means that the development is iterative and broken down into several cycles, composed of phases like build, measure, and learn, and they properly adapted to respond to the project needs. And just a few words about these phases. The build phase, as you can see on the slide, involves competence centers and manufacturing setting partners working together to deliver the minimum viable product, MVP, for demonstrators. This is actually the bare minimum product that can be built in order to test the several assumptions and start delivering results as quickly as possible. So this was one of our answers here. Also, there is within the measure phase, the competence centers, manufacturing settings partners are working together hand in hand to analyze, organize, and also somehow present the data produced with the help of the minimum viable product, and also assess the progress that was made. And finally, in the learn phase, based on these measurements, choices for the following iterations have to be made, like will additional developments with a certain competence centers be needed, or will it be possible to move on to new aspects of the repurposing processes? So I think this is the answer what we followed in the project.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. We have seen now a lot of how we structure this, how our approach it, what makes it different from let's say ordinary or past projects. And now, of course, we have 1 year of project duration. And so my last question to you would be, what do you think about the results? Where do we stand?
Yeah, as the product coordinator, I can say that the progress was quite smooth, and we have now solid results. And this is what I would like to share with you. The first result, and let's talk about the production of reusable silicon masks. And here we follow the dual approach. And in the first slide, you can see on one hand, this is a sustainable product for citizens, since silicon rubber is reusable, washable, and our project COVERSATILE made it possible to make the product more sustainable, make the mask comfortable to wear by using lightweight material and special velvet skin textures. Different filters can be inserted and exchanged. M95 filter is also certified. However, non-woven filters are still mainly coming from Asia, and this is another topic that I will touch later. And concerning another aspect, on the other hand, in the collaboration COVERSATILE, we made the manufacturing of such reusable silicon mask as versatile as possible, so the other manufacturers might reuse it. Concerning the technology, the transfer injection, there is no need to deflash the extra rubber left after the injection process. Also, I have to mention that now we have optimized cycles, and now we can produce as many masks as possible in a given period by the facility. And also, it's universal. So the solution is for all kinds of solid rubber compounds, so ordinary rubber, food grade rubber, and so on. And another topic what I would like to briefly describe to you is about the structure and how to redesign of the supplier structure, how we can support this. So in the COVERSATILE project, we developed a simulation service, as you can see on the screen, to cover issues of availability of materials due to the sudden demand peaks or supplier risk during the pandemic. And as you can see, once the issue is realized, the supply chain manager and the company can discuss with existing suppliers about the changes in their lead time or transport time, how much capacity is available to deliver the requested amount of parts or material, or contact further suppliers to ask for additional parts, material availability, and so on. And then when new information from suppliers is entered, the simulation service can be started. Based on the simulation results, the remaining bottlenecks are identified. And here, if in case of bottlenecks, the system provides a comprehensive overview on the parts that cause the bottleneck and of the suppliers. Other solutions had to be retrieved and tested. Maybe other suppliers cause the bottleneck or have to be contacted, and the entire circle starts again. And in case of the bottlenecks are solved, the company can go ahead with integrating new suppliers. And also, I would like to encourage all the attendees to attend all the next seminar next week. More information on the service will be shared by Fraunhofer IML during the webinar on the 25th of November. And now let's switch to again another topic what I can share with you, and this is about the Facebook machine, and especially how we support the training here with so-called 3D PDF manuals. So the main goal of this production line, this is the kind of manufacturing setting, in terms of training, is to create e-manuals capable of instructing the workforce in the assembly line much more efficiently, which you have achieve a faster production ramp up. And here you can see 5 main machine modules, include material infeed, nose clip and contour welding, print and strap application, folding and fold welding, contour cutting and outfit. Then our Dutch manufacturing settings partner, provided to the HSMI from the UK document with operating instructions for the face mask machine and a 3D CAD of the machine, CAD final machine. And the 3D PDF manual that the HSMI created as a result contains some information about the constituent parts of the machine that operators need to be familiar with, and also instructions on how to operate each of the machine's modules, as you can see in the animation. And in the next phase, HSMI proceeded to integrate the machines into the game engine, which has the benefit of allowing the user to see the model in a much higher detail. And once this work is completed, we will tested by the DEMCON team. Okay, and also this can be exported for most operating systems, and format will change depending on the machine. So I believe that it was a good appetizer for the upcoming webinar events. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I guess you already showed out, okay, the concept was set into results. We will learn, of course, a lot more about these results in the coming weeks. And thank you again, Robert, for joining us, to giving your insight to the project and your opinion as a project coordinator. Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So, and again, from my side, the request, so if you have any questions, comments, remarks, use the chat box, the Q&A box to address that. We will have later on Robert in our panel discussion, so we can answer your questions and we can react to your comments. And as mentioned from Robert, but already mentioned in the beginning, so of course the question is how you as an industry organization, you as a healthcare organization, how do you get access to all those solutions we have provided in the past year? And it was already talked, we already talked about the digital technopole, and that's a central element we have developed also with the help of Sebastian Pena Siena from Glasgow. And Sebastian, I would like to welcome you on the stage. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Sebastian, you're the founder of Glasgow, a startup working towards facilitating the democratization and adoption of ICT-enabled solution in the manufacturing industry. And you as Glasgow, you are the developer of the technology behind the COVERSATILE digital technopole. And of course, now we all and our audience is interested in, okay, how does it work? What does it deliver? And yeah, for that, I will ask you to give us some insights. So the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Christian, for the introduction. Actually, and thanks, Robert, for introducing the project and for showing where we are going and what we have done so far. So as Christian and Robert were saying, the project is developing technology and wants to make, well, and is proving that technology in the context of the manufacturing settings. And now we want to make the same kind of technology, the same kind of possibilities available to other manufacturing companies. And there is where the digital technopole is going to play an important role. So this is somehow just to set the context once more, as Robert was saying. The project has different technology partners, different experts involved with different backgrounds. And this is just, as Robert was commenting, the different topics like training and certification, supply network simulation, and these kind of aspects. But now the question is how to enable that other manufacturing companies benefit from this kind of technology and can also start thinking about repurposing, adapting the production lines in order to produce some urgent for instance, medical devices that in case of a pandemic are required. So let me now go a little bit deeper into what we want to achieve by means of the digital technopole. Since we are talking about going beyond the project, so one thing is the technology and the expertise. The second thing is to prove it by means of real manufacturing companies, real production lines doing this kind of process. And the third part is now how to make that accessible by external manufacturing companies and try to do the same thing. So from that perspective, what we have done is, of course, we have on the top the stakeholders, manufacturing companies, and the digital technopole is somehow the view, the entry to that kind of technology. And in order to organize that, to make sure that the people are able to use the technology, to contact experts, then we define an approach and a strategy that help us to determine how to do that, starting, of course, from the solutions that the different experts are providing, having a technical platform that enables to have that communication, to export, to present, to enable the testing and the use of these kind of technologies. Of course, is we need to think in the future that we need to be prepared also for future kind of crisis. Then we need to think about sustainable operation and how to make it possible that other companies can understand and can benefit from what we are doing and the expertise that we have within the project. So what we have is that we are leveraging a B2B platform developing a parallel European project, and this platform is already giving us a very good basis to enable this kind of communication between buyers, suppliers, consumers, providers, in order to bring this ecosystem, build this ecosystem, and allow everybody to benefit from what we have. So let me introduce a little bit the concept that we have behind that and what we are trying to achieve. So we are working in a new concept which goes beyond just a marketplace, just promoting or showcasing technology. We actually are building a community around that. And the reason behind that is that, well, technology alone is not enough. Sometimes technology is not well understood. Not everybody is aware about the technology. And even if people are aware, maybe they don't have experience, they don't know anybody who has tried that technology before. So the key for enabling that is we need other people, members of the community, who can also share their experience, share their best practice, their use cases, who are eager to interact with other members of the community and perhaps in that way generate trust and help everybody to understand how they can benefit, how they can use it, how they can do something together in order to help the society in times of crisis. So the community is an important aspect, and what we want to achieve there is to bring different stakeholders from digital innovation hubs to technology providers, value-added resellers, as well as consultancy companies, and of course, manufacturing companies who can interact in that sphere, in that ecosystem, who are able to learn from one another and exchange information from one another. And on the other side, we have the marketplace where we have the experts, the technology providers who are supporting all these community members in using, in benefiting, in leveraging these technologies in order to help the society to, for instance, overcome a pandemic. So now if we think about what does it mean to have a community and a marketplace, then what we are doing is that we talk about community interactions and marketplace services. So these are the basic features that we have and that we believe that already provide a set of core functionalities that allow everybody to start using, to start screening, to start learning about what is possible. So from the community interactions point of view, we have the insights where people can share context, success stories, use cases, best practices. Then we have panel discussions where people can join groups and ask questions, answer questions from other members, and try to learn from one another and from the collective intelligence, let's say, shared by the community. And then we have something that we call matches, which is a tool that helps people, especially manufacturing companies, to find an expert who has the background, who has the knowledge to support it with some specific challenge. And the concept behind that is what we call for solutions. from the point of view of the marketplace services, we have so far 3 categories, which are very in line with what Robert presented before. So on the one hand, we have the software tools, either cloud-based or just software tools that people can download. We have training courses in order to understand or to learn how to use these tools, or how to let other kind of processes like certification or any other aspect that is required. And finally, a consultancy process where people can also start individual projects, customized projects with some experts, and try to get some guided help or guided support in order to, for instance, adapt or use some specific technology. So the digital technopole so far looks like this, and we are going to make a tour in a few seconds. But before that, let us try to be a little bit more interactive. And we have prepared a set of questions that we want you to answer. And this is the first question that we want you to answer. So you will see now the possibility to answer that poll in your screen. And the first question is, do you think that the concept of the digital technopole is easy to understand? So that's the first question that I have for you. These are the possible answers. Yes, I understood it. Well, I understood the concept, but I don't see benefits, or I don't perceive the benefits so far. Or I understood the concept, but I don't know how to get involved, or what are the implications behind that. Maybe you understood the concept, but you don't know what are the implications, or what does it mean to join the community versus joining the marketplace, or if there is a difference. Or maybe there was too much information or too few information, and you got a little bit lost and you need more details. So if you give us the first feedback, then we will try to elaborate that in the next part of the presentation, and of course later on as well in the panels. So I will give you a few seconds more so that you can go through the poll and choose your answer. And when we have some preliminary results, I will share those results with you. And then I will go to the second part of the presentation where we will do the tour through the current digital technopole. So I guess we will get the preliminary results of the poll very soon. And I'm curious to know what is your answer and your understanding so far. And don't worry about the answer. It's okay. Whatever you answer, we will definitely try to provide you with more details try to be more clear or more convincing. Actually, that's part of the interactivity. We want to get some feedback from you so that we can share that you can share that we are able to share effectively the information. Maybe for some of you who don't know where to find this poll, so you should have on your screen, if I remember well, on the right side, you have a couple of options. One of those options are like a chat, questions and answers, and the other one is polls. So if you click in the tab polls, then you will be able to answer this first question, in case you didn't find it. Okay, so I guess we should see some results. And now we have some results, some preliminary results so far. So, okay, it seems that people, or some of them, understood the concept, but they don't know how to get involved. That was answer C. We're about 50%. And unfortunately for us, and we need to be more clear on that, Some of them as well get a little bit lost, and they don't understand very well what the digital technopole is about. So perhaps now the tour will help us to make that a little bit more clearer. Well, actually, we just got an update, and it is a little bit more, how to say, distribute. Now we see that 1/3 or about 1/3 of the audience actually answer or choose the A answer, so they understood and they see some benefits for that. And we have 2 other thirds still with, they don't know how to get involved even if they understood it, and well, 1/3 that got a little bit lost. So let me try once more doing the tour, and let us hope that now we can make it a little bit more clear. So Digital Technopole, as I said, is a B2B platform, but it's a cloud-based B2B platform. Important to understand. Oops, sorry for that. Wrong window. But in order to enable that people access that from wherever in the world, well, or especially in Europe, and without any barriers, what that means is that we have a web application that you can visit, and you can sign up and log in, and you can start interacting, for instance, in the community. So let me start with the community. So in the very, very general case, we have, just the homepage where you will see some information, some important links where to go to. Now you have some main menus there, like the marketplace, the community spheres, also some tab dedicated to, or some bookmark dedicated to support, and something else where you can determine your settings, dealing with your accounts and things like that. Let me now start by the community. So as I said before, we have identified 3 main functionalities that we believe that will already give you a little bit of a basic support in order to interact with other members of the community. So the first one is about the insights. In the insights, you have the possibility to share some articles, for instance, use cases, best practices, and things like that. So you can see articles being shared by other partners. If you want to read the article, then you click in the article and you can read the article. And if you want to interact with the people, then below you have the possibility to comment on that article. So if you are a member, so that is visible for everybody. And if you are a member and actually you want to share some of your experiences, some of the, what you have learned and what you are doing, you can actually publish an article yourself. So you can get to the publish area and you can create your own article. So that's very simple, nothing fancy so far. Then if we go about the panel discussions, is very similar. Then you have different panel discussion that has been started, or you can start your own panel discussion. If you go into the panel discussion, then you can join or leave the panel. And after you join the panel, you have the possibility to either provide input or provide your comments in existing subjects, or you can create your own subjects and start engaging in a communication within that subject. Again, here you can initiate your own panels if you want to create your own panels. Then we have what we were calling the matches. So the matches is this concept of call for solutions. If you are a manufacturing company and you want to get some support in some specific area, what you can do is that you can create your own call for solutions. You describe what is the context of what you want to solve, what are the objectives, and what are perhaps the constraints or the requirements that you have. And after you create the call, then you will have, we internally will have the opportunity to distribute your call to broadcast your call to experts who match that kind of needs. And then people who are looking at this call, so experts who are looking at this call, then can propose our solution for that call. And they will be able to answer and to tell you what will be the offer, what is possible to be done, and you can also start communicating with them directly. So that's from the point of view of the matches. And of course, since we are talking about a community, we have members, and you can see what members are doing, where members are active, where they are being provided or sharing the knowledge with others. And then you can navigate and see the expertise represented by the other members. So that's the community. It is about enabling people to share, communicate, interact with one another, and of course, in that process, learn from the others and get to know the others a little bit better. And as I said, the objective behind that is to increase the trust in the technology, and of course in the experts represented or being available in the digital technopole. And in that way, you will be able to somehow either offer your own services or being able to start using services provided by others. So if we go to the marketplace area, one of the aspects that we want to support people with in terms of manufacturing simulation, supply chain simulation, and other kind of simulation or software that our experts have and will be offered is the possibility to have access to software applications, software tools. Either some of them will be able to be executed from the cloud. Some others, you will need to download the software in order to do that. If you're an expert, of course, you will be able to also publish your own application. Otherwise, if you just want to use existing applications, you just visit, read, get a little bit of an understanding. Also, if you go into the courses area, you will, for instance, see some courses that will help you to understand how to use some of the tools, or perhaps also to understand how to get into the process, for instance, of certification. So what that means is that we are using, or we are following the concept of massive online open courses. And what we have developed here is that we want to support the creation of video lectures, and each video lecture will have modules, and then every module will have some lectures. So let me just show you here, perhaps a course that I have licensed. So I have the different modules there. I can go in one of the, I have the course, I can go in one of the modules, and then I can see, for instance, the video lecture related to that module. I can download slides and resources if they are available. And that's the way you will be able to, yourself at your own speed, try to engage with some specific technologies, understand how it works, and start using it. And then we have the consulting process. So what we achieve to do here is, in some cases, communication between two teams, perhaps the team of experts and the team of who will receive that kind of information. They will need to exchange information, to communicate with one another in order to understand how they will be able to use some technology, to adopt some technology and things like that. And in some cases, this just can be done in a customized manner. So it is not possible to just use a training course or something like that. So maybe you need some dedicated guidance. And this is what we are trying to do with the consulting project. So it is an ad hoc project, something that you can define, or the expert can define by themselves. So what actually you do is, if you want to start a project, so a consulting project with a company, what you do is that, you start communicating with that company. That company have a structure that consultancy process like a project. So that means you have different phases in that project. So for instance, the status quo of the starting position. Then you will have something like the planning. Afterward, you might have something like the implementation, and finally you might have something like the assessment or evaluation, just something like that. And what you will have the possibility to do is that you have, in every single module, you will have different activities, and in those activities, what you have is the possibility to build your own web form where you are able to afterward collect information or share information within your team. And those web forms are dynamically created based on the needs of the project and could be updated at any time. Finally, just the last part of the technology of the marketplace, you will see technologies. You will be able to click on technologies, read descriptions, see associated services to those technologies, and you will also have the possibility to go through the different partners that are being featured in the Digital Technopole, and also learn about what they are providing, where are the expertise, and what kind of solutions, for instance, courses, consultancies of software apps they are providing. So that was a little tour about the Digital Technopole. I hope that complement a little bit the presentation that I was doing before, or the information that I was providing before. Now, let me finalize the presentation by, again, bring you into some, well, to allow you to be a little bit more interactive and to share with us your understanding after the second part of the presentation. Now, if you go again to the polls tab, now you will see that 2 additional questions are available for you. The second question in this case is about what will you need to know in order to take the next step and use the Digital Technopole. So that's the first question. The second question is, well, let me just rephrase that. That's the second question of this session. Now, the third question is, what will you think should be included in the Digital Technopole in order to generate value for you? So what we want to get from you, the feedback that we want to collect from you, is somehow, on the one hand, for the second question, is to understand if you're missing something, if you think that you need to see some kind of evidence before you say, yes, I really want to use it. Or if you think that, yeah, you need to be more people, more manufacturing companies being involved, more activity in the community, more services being provided, or if you are just, you understood a little bit, you know what is this about, and of course you want to learn more and understand that better, but you think that you will get a benefit from joining and from being part of the Digital Technopole. And in the third question, what we would like to understand is to see if you think that value can be generated for you. As you know, and Robert had explained that before, we are in the context of the COVID pandemic, and we are trying to help people and manufacturing companies who are willing to engage and do something for the community so that they can use technology, get some support from experts, and based on that, being able, for instance, to readapt or rerun their production lines, their production processes, in order to create some special equipment that is required from the specific crisis. And from that perspective, this is the value that we want to generate. And the third question is about, do you think that there is value in the way that we are presenting this? So as you have seen from Robert, we have a lot of technology experts with a lot of technology and background and expertise to provide. The means of providing that and to make it accessible to everybody is through the Digital Technopole. And the question is, do you think that this, making that expertise, knowledge, and technology available through the Digital Technopole, is something that will generate value for you? So if you give us your feedback, as I said, this will help us also to reshape and reconsider how we should present, what we will need to focus on, and of course to understand what is the best way to make that the objective of the project becomes a practical reality, and that when we have a crisis like right now with the COVID pandemic, but perhaps other crises in the future, that we have a community of experts and manufacturing companies that are willing and ready to get activated and to act when it is needed. If we manage in Europe with this willingness of these two different, let's say, areas, one, the expertise and the infrastructure of the manufacturing companies, and the other hand, the experts, if we manage to have this community alive and willing to participate and to be part of the solution in a pandemic, then we have the digital technopole where we can bring them together, where they can generate what is needed, and of course, support the society with whatever needs we might have. So I hope that now that we are doing this poll for the second time, you were able to find the tab without any problem. And I see that we have some answers so far. So far, in the two polls, the two answers that we have has helped select the option C. So the option C in the first one, or in the second question, is about they would like to see more manufacturing companies being active and being part of the digital technopole. And I can understand that, because that somehow will let them understand and let them see that, yeah, there are real manufacturing companies benefit from that. So that's a totally fair answer and or feedback. And for the third question, we have also the option C is the one with the majority of answers in this case. And what they would like to see is that there are more marketplace services. So there are more experts being represented and provided the services there, and that they can see that, well, if I need some support or if I'm willing to adapt my manufacturing process, then I know where to go and where to find the experts and the services and the technology to work with. So that is what I plan to do in this section. And I think that with that, I can thank you for your interaction. Thank you for the feedback. And we will consider that in the future to present it better, to make it clearer, and of course, to convince more manufacturing companies and experts in being part of the digital technopole. And as I said, so that we are all as a society prepared to be part of the solution when the next crisis or even the COVID-19 crisis needs to be resolved and overcome. So thank you. And I think that Christian can take over once more.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Sebastian, for this introduction to the digital technopole. And yeah, it will be launched quite soon. So all of us, you all will get access to it. And I guess the topic of openness, yeah, that is easy to solve. I mean, if you want to submit a certain offer, I guess that's an opportunity you can have independent, whether you are part of COVERSATILE or not, right?
That's completely true. We want to have open at all levels, open for all manufacturing companies, open for all experts. We just want to be part of the solution and contribute to that and facilitate that experts and manufacturing companies get together and, as I said, be part of the solution and not just see how things are difficult, but actually be active and participate in that. So we don't have any constraints. Everybody is more than welcome to be part of it.
So also to our audience, so that's your chance to join also this digital technopole quite soon. So thank you, Sebastian. And now I would like to also ask a few more people to join us in the panel discussion. And first of all, Robert is back again, our coordinator. Then I would like to introduce to you Saskia Sadesai from Fraunhofer IML in Dortmund. She coordinates the research department of supply chain engineering and is an expert in all this supply chain management topic, discrete event simulation and interfaces to application areas of artificial intelligence. Welcome, Saskia.
Hello.
Then we have Katharina Dehme from HSSMI. She's the project coordinator, a project management coordinator at HSSMI, and the main contact person for the training packages HSSMI is developing and providing within the project. So welcome, Katharina.
Hello.
And in addition, we have Matthias Wangenheim from the Leibniz University in Hanover. There he is assistant director at the Institute of Dynamics and Vibrations. And in that function, he is involved in several projects among European projects, including COVERSATILE. And especially here, you are involved in the face mask production. So welcome, Matthias.
Thank you. Hi.
So, and so again, the opportunity for you as audience to ask us questions. So if there are now any questions came up in the first part of the presentation from Robert or in the second part from Sebastian, so please just pull it in the Q&A session and we will deal with. And so far we also have reached, or we have got first question, and it's about the workforce ramp up. So we have heard about it as training courses, and so in our case, it's also about speed. Yeah, so that means what is required, and the question goes to you, Katharina. What is required to fastly ramp up workforces in the case of a pandemic?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Let me first explain what is meant by the workforce ramp up. So it has multiple aspects, but I'll list some of them. As a producer, if you're faced with the need to quickly ramp up your production or repurpose your production lines, you would know that one of the things that's very important is to reskill your employees who may have to learn new jobs or tasks. Also, the operators need to be trained on new procedures and projects. And finally, of course, you may need to onboard new employees or reboard the furloughed employees. So for all this, training needs to achieve the training quickly and to achieve the production ramp up quicker, we would propose to use digital tools for the training purposes. Traditional training methods are often time consuming. What I mean by traditional is face-to-face, trainer-led mentoring and all this. So it's time consuming and it's often impossible to achieve it during the remote working conditions or during times of crisis and when rapid production is required. So digital tools are an effective alternative for planning your production and for training your operators quickly. Robert gave some examples of the digital training tools that HSMI offers and develops during this project. Examples were 3D PDF and gaming engine, which is even more immersive environment for the operators and for users of the project. So we will expand on this and we'll talk more about the benefits of those and how those are developed by HSMI and what input is needed to be provided to us to develop those in the upcoming webinar on the 9th of December, where we'll also give some examples of our previous work and how this was achieved effectively and what has been produced. We'll give some demos as well of those.
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. And I guess, Sebastian, that's also then the direct connection to you or to the digital technopole. So that we are exactly able to provide also not only the technology, but also the workforce ramp up, I guess, on the digital technopole. Yeah.
Definitely. The idea is to make as much services and results available to the general public, so to say, through the digital technopole. So in the very specific case of the training material that HSMI is developing, they will be part of the training courses so that people can access them, see the 3D PDFs, interact with them, understand how these processes are working and benefit from this material that has been prepared with very detailed and a lot of interactivity so that is easy to understand.
Yeah. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Katharina. we have already heard about the supply chain simulation today and the need of repurposing the supply chain as well. So, I mean, you have all read about this incidents in the Suez Channel. Yeah, so that was a quite good and very, let's say, easy to understand example. But Saskia, you are going much more in detail when it comes to supply chain simulation. So what did you face during the pandemic? So what is about this, the importance of the supply chain simulation for COVERSATILE?
Yeah, thank you, Christian, for this question. We have all faced it during the pandemic, that we had like products not available, be it in the supermarket for a small period of time, but also at the moment where we have got rather the long-term effects of the pandemic, that we actually do not, or that a lot of companies are fighting to get available parts and to have a look at alternatives. We have so the different alternatives. Then I mean, if you find those alternatives, then that needs to be checked in also about the lead time. You have to have a new supplier who. Yeah, so the lead time So the new supplier needs to be evaluated and needs to be seen. I mean, what is the lead time? What is the production time, the transport time, and then the check on the supply chain needs to be done. So that can be done actually with the simulation. But what we face also here during the pandemic is that a lot of governments were actually pushing the economy. So that is very strongly seen at the moment in the US, but also in the other harbors in Europe or in China, that we have got the ships getting stuck in front of the harbors. So all the work and all the load is actually on the ships. The containers are getting stuck there. These ones are normally in a whole in circle, and those effects have got a strong impact on the supply chain. And that needs to be evaluated with a simulation, and can also be evaluated with it. And that's where, that's how we can. That's why we can actually set up resilient supply chains if we test it up front.
Yeah, thank you, Saskia, and I guess Robert, yours also with the long-term experience. I guess this is a topic which goes far beyond the pandemic, the current pandemic. It's really also a role model, or a topic looking on the political landscape in the world that remains afterwards.
Yes, definitely. We have to deal with this issue in the future as well. This is also my opinion. And I am convinced about that the digital technopole will be able to help and democratize this service, what we developed developing in the project. So, in my opinion, this is something that can be really exploited in the future as well, and can be form a really solid background for the further developments and other innovation as well.
Yeah, and Saskia, you will be presenting in our next webinar in the coming week, and you will provide us much more insights into that topic and how the solution works, and what can be, how can it solve, and how can it support industry in planning and replanning those supply chains. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So we will talk a bit about resilient supply chains in general. We have a look also at different risks which are coming up, especially during the COVID time, or in pandemics in general. And then we have also, then we see how the simulation can support part of it. So I give an example there, and then we close up with a discussion also involving the audience a bit.
Yeah. And I'm already looking forward to that since I'm moderating as well next week. So yeah, I'm excited to see that more in detail next week. And the third topic, also Robert already presented, was this topic of face mask production. But it's not only about face mask production, it's also about manufacturing technology behind that process, also about, again, agility, in flexibility. So, and Matthias, you are dealing with such topics also from the research side. So, yeah, what is the achievement in COVERSATILE on not only focusing on the face mask itself, but also on the processes which are behind that?
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Yeah, actually, this question touches several dimensions. One is that in COVERSATILE, we would like to enable as many rubber manufacturers as possible all over Europe to be able to produce our mask. Yeah, so we have to train them. This is what Katharina was mentioning. We probably need to use digital tools for this kind of training. We need to train the workers how to mold the mask, how to use the molds, and also about certification issues for being able to produce such medical devices. And the next point which we are touching is the product development. Maybe in the next pandemic we don't need masks. Maybe we need other medical products. And a strong emphasis of this COVERSATILE project is to create digital development tools, engineering tools. This means designing, this means simulation, flow simulations, and this is another topic. We are very closely connected to the digital technopole because we're bringing the different research areas together in the digital technopole, and all of them together can be used to create even new products, and this in a very short time.
Yeah, thank you. And also about that topic, we will learn more on 2nd of December in our third webinar. And yeah, so my last question goes to Robert as the coordinator of the overall project. So we have now seen already today what we have achieved in a very high level view. In more detail, it can be seen in the coming weeks. We have seen the digital technopole as that common instrument we are using. So what do you expect in the coming 12 months? How do we continue this development in COVERSATILE, taking the digital technopole as central element and then providing our benefit to that digital technopole?
Mm-hmm. Yes, as I mentioned in my presentation, we have these so-called build, measure, run cycles every 3 months. So I expect that every 3 months we will have new results that might be shared through digital technopole at the beginning, and I expect that there will be also third-party services that can be offered through this digital technopole more and more. And also I think that this second year will be also quite challenging because now we have to attract more and more users there, and I think that this kind of webinar series will help a lot to achieve this goal. And the final aim is to somehow get the critical mass of users of the digital technopole, and I will watch very, very closely how it is progressing. As a project coordinator, this is my responsibility, and also to help all the partners to achieve these results.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a very good point set. I'm sure with the quality we are delivering and with our results, we will reach the critical mass during the coming year. And yeah, we are working on that. So thank you to Saskia, to Katharina, to Matthias, to Sebastian, and to Robert, yeah, for joining today's webinar to take part in this panel discussion. And yeah, this was today's webinar for the introduction of COVERSATILE, to introduce the digital technopole, to already give you some food for thought, yeah, regarding that topics we are dealing with. And with that, I would like to invite you to the coming weeks. So our next webinar is taking place on next Thursday, 10 o'clock again. So it's very easy to keep track. It's the next 3 Thursdays at 10 o'clock. You should reserve the slot, 1.5 to 2 hours, to listen to our results. But that's not all. So we already are in planning for a matchathon event in spring 2022. And that's, again, your opportunity to get in touch with us, to further develop topics, to have a critical look on what we have developed, yeah, and to join forces, yeah, to even grow and to even boost those results we having developed in the COVERSATILE project. And of course, since the project is closing by end of next year, you can already make some check mark in your calendar that, okay, in 2022 itself, we plan a webinar series. That's a bit more far away. So it's much easier for you to recognize that next Thursday, 10 o'clock, the next webinar takes place. And it's about the topic of supply chain, resilient supply chains. So that's for today. Yeah. So enjoy the day. Stay healthy. Yeah. I have to say it again in these days. Yeah. Unfortunately, but we are looking forward to meet you again coming Thursday, 10 o'clock. Thank you very much.